Good afternoon and welcome to the POOLBEG PHARMA PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded meeting, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged. You can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply click on Q&A, type in your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. I'd now like to hand you over to Kyle Frill, Chairman. Good afternoon, sir.
Paul, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank everybody. There's a vast number of people coming on tonight to hear the update. And my colleague Jeremy is here. He's in London. I'm here in London. So we're You're getting us both from Dublin and London. Look, I think people were waiting for this update. We didn't want to rush it out last Friday or Monday or Tuesday. We thought we'd wait till Wednesday. There's a bit of an irony where we waited today. Today is the day we were supposed to announce the completion and the binding, the signing of the merger agreement and the 2.7 announcement. And the irony of irony, that didn't happen. So we thought we'd coincide it to have our update today, the day the deal didn't happen. But look, what I would like to say, I know people are asking what the hell went wrong, what was that all about, why the share price collapsed, everything. So look, we're here tonight to answer all the questions. I think we've got a really good news for you tonight in regards to the prospects of the company. So let me take you through the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. How we got here today is probably the best way, and why, as the largest shareholder, I've written checks for over $1.5 million as the single largest investor in the IPO. And I increased my stake last year when I stepped up to work closely with Jeremy and the team as executive chairman. So I think you'll probably see my demeanor tonight. I'm the one that should be depressed. I'm the one that should have my wife kicking me around the place for what happened to the share price, but I'm not. I'm actually, believe it or not, as a result of the hookup transaction, I'm even more energized and more excited, and I have even more faith. I've always had faith in POOLBEG, but even more faith in it. And I'm going to tell you the story why. First of all, let's go to brass tacks. We were very positive about the hookup deal. It was an interesting deal. And per announcement last Thursday, being frank, we were surprised and we were disappointed. We got bloody well no notice. We were working up, it said, to close the deal, or when we say close it, to get the 2.7 announcement. We were scheduling for the day. That means the signing of the binding and merger agreement. And on the back of that, we had to announce a certain level of commitments and the funding. We had that as well. So everything was good. We got 20 minutes and that was it. The warning, had a call, deal's over. We honestly don't know. I'm sure the other side, hookup, have their reasons. However, day one, we were warned by our advisor in New York that be careful, guys. There's two very large shareholders. Gilead have 19.9 and Baker Brothers have 35%. So in that scenario, one never knows what might happen, is all I can say. And therefore, we structured the deal that they were the bidders and we were the recipient of the bid, even though it was going to be a reverse takeover. On completion of the deal, POOLBEG, you, myself, Jeremy, and everybody else would have 55% of the large company, and the hookup folks would have 45. We would have 4 board seats. They would have 3. So it was very much our deal. We would have been in control, but we did structure it that they would take us over, and for the simple reason, avoid board costs. Because on their side, they had a squadron of lawyers, a squadron of advisors working up documents. So they had to draft all the documents and send them to us, and we had to review them. So all I can reassure everybody, the majority of the board costs are on their side. The actual abort costs are minimal. So I know a lot of people are concerned, oh, did you rack up a big bill? No. The bills on our side are insignificant. We definitely still have an in-house lawyer, and he would have worked carefully with Jeremy, myself, and Ian, and the team. So we did, like everything in POOLBEG, we did most of the deal in-house. We didn't hire a squadron of lawyers because we had one in-house. We got a small but external legal help on it. But so all the costs were really our time inside. So I can reassure people there's been no significant damage of that very large cash sum of money that everybody knows we have on our balance sheet that stretches back to original IPO. So that's all I'd like to say. I want to reassure them. I would say it's probably was a very hard 4 months for all of us on the deal. I said there was a squadron of lawyers, a squadron of advisors on the hookup side. I've always said I started young. I started working at 16. Last year I was 60. My 44th year working, And being honest with you, folks, last 4 months is probably the hardest 4 months I've ever worked in my bloody life in 44 years. So I will reassure people listening, it was bloody hard work. I don't regret a minute of it, those last 4 months, because it meant we didn't mess up. We didn't miss anything. We did everything we wanted to do. And for some reason, it's up to the other side. They decided not to go ahead. I think we have our own views on that, which we probably better keep to ourselves for the moment. However, the exciting part of that entire process is that during the process, and this was up on our website, that Oppenheimer were arranging a roadshow of which we basically had to manage and run, and they set up meetings with a vast range of North American biotech investors, very, very reputable ones, people who do nothing, multi-billion funds, and they would know this industry really well, way better than any of us know. And the interesting thing is, we would have presented the combined Hookapa POOLBEG team, and at virtually every one of those meetings, the investors came, hey, we want to see the 001 product, and the meeting revolved around them. And at every one of them, the investors said, wow, your POOLBEG 001 product is way more exciting, way more valuable than anything in Hookapa. So that was quite ironic. Quite ironic that the feeling was that we had a more valuable asset, very more valuable. We always knew, and I reassure people, that 001 was very valuable. But this was amazing and interesting validation by large pharma companies, but really by large specialist biotech investors in North America, who to the one said, wow, do you know that product could literally double the bispecific market, which is currently a $5 or $10 billion market. That product could double the CAR-T market. And why did they say that? Well, let me tell you where they came to this conclusion. They said currently bispecifics and most of these cancer treatments in CAR-T have a very severe CAR-T or CRS response. And as such, the administration of those oncology cancer treatments has to be in a very expensive specialist cancer center to manage the patient because the CRS response can be up to 25-30% of the individuals have got a very major reaction. However, if 001, if we run the trial that we're envisaging, hopefully for this summer, can show efficacy, that means anybody on some of these cancer treatments, particularly bispecific, CAR-T, and a range of them, if they take the product, R001 prophylactic, is an oral pill, a week or 10 days in advance of their treatment, that means the physician administering an oncology treatment knows there's not going to be a CRS issue, and therefore the patient can be treated in the community hospital and even potentially by the local district nurse in their home. That is how you double a market. And that means the rate limiting for many oncology treatments, particularly bispecific, is that you only can give the treatment in specialist center. There's a limited amount of beds. The specialist centers are far away from the home of the individual. So now suddenly an individual with a severe cancer issue can have their treatment in the community, and that literally vastly more people can avail. There's never been a product with supply of these treatments, the bispecific CAR-Ts. The rate limiting, and Jeremy's going to take you through instrument, has always been the venue, the number of beds available to administer the therapy in those centers. So that's the exciting bit. Furthermore, many of these investors who know, let's say, they're specialist biotech, really like the LPS challenge study we did, and they said that proved efficacy. However, they made it very clear we need to prove the drug works in humans, and that's the key crux. Tested in humans with the CAR-T, but more important, the bispecific drug. And they've said, wow, folks, if you can just run a very small, low-cost trial this summer, this autumn, and prove your drug that you actually give it with real-world patients. So you will remember our bispecific trial we did over a year ago did prove its efficacy, but that did not involve with the treatment. So the plan at the moment that we've come up with is that if we run the 001 with a bispecific or a Keytruda product, and there's no adverse reaction, wow, suddenly it's an absolute game changer for POOLBEG, a game changer for 001, but a game changer for anybody delivering bispecific. Suddenly the market doubles or triples. So that's where we're going. The plan would be that trial would be a relatively low-cost trial. Jeremy's going to bring you through the trial design. definitely substantially below $4 million. So I don't want people to think, wow, what's suddenly a big expense. It's not. The most expensive part of that trial will be the product. The bispecifics can be $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 per patient. So that for the trial, it could be in the region of $10 million. We already know there's a number of pharma companies, and it was up on our deck, that we're pretty certain that we'll supply the products. Imagine the reason we'll supply the product is we can then prove taking our product in combination with their therapy, there's no CRS reaction. So it actually, and there's a view in some world that it could actually improve the therapeutic phase as well, but that's new research.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going. I'm looking forward to Jeremy that's going to talk you through in a few minutes how that trial will work. Furthermore, that other people looked and said, wow, you guys have a GLP-1 oral. That's another asset that we know, we've talked about it. That trial is kicking off this summer. And again, in humans, testing oral GLP-1. The whole world knows there's even Musk is injecting himself in the tummy for his GLP-1, which is the obesity treatment. Nobody has a working oral one. We're not going to be expanding, again, the POOLBEG model. We just want to proof of concept that it works in an oral treatment. And our plan then is to hand it over to another party to take it from there and monetize at that point in time. So look, what I would say, there is a lot of questions I just see, and there's actually even questions coming in as I'm speaking. So what we might try and do is Jeremy will bring you through and talk in more detail of this 001 trial. We're saying it's not guaranteed. We're looking at funding options as we speak. Our expectations, we'd hope large pharma would be part of the funding option. We know the large pharma will provide the product, which is the biggest part of the trial, but we're very excited we can do it. This is actually proving 001 works alongside one of these cancer treatments, and that'd be really exciting. So I'll let Jeremy talk you through that, and then we'll quickly get back to the questions. There's about 10 or 15 pre-submitted questions. There's a lot of the similar questions, and we'll try and bring people through them. We don't want to dwell too long, but we will wrap up within 40, 45 minutes, if that's okay. So Jeremy, over to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I just want to start by acknowledging the POOLBEG team. From the inside, I've seen how hard that Carl and Ian and John and David worked, and the broader team over the last 4 months. Tremendous amount of effort. As Carl said, we were surprised, disappointed last Thursday, but there was a lot of learnings from these kind of experiences, and we'll take that and move on. So what I plan to do tonight is kind of, I guess, reorientate a lot of the kind of investors to what would be now our two main programs, and where we were, where we came from, but of course where we're going. So I'll spend maybe 10 or 12 minutes or so going through the bit of a slide deck. And again, as I say, just to kind of remind as you're going. So the focus, as Carl has outlined, is in cytokine release syndrome, and this is where your immune system is overreacting to a threat or to an event. And where we're focusing on now is these cancer immunotherapies, who, from an efficacy standpoint, do terrific work. They basically, redirect your immune system to go after a tumor. Typically they go after, say, bacteria or viruses, but it's to go after the tumor themselves. And what happens as a side effect, you have the cytokine storm, cytokine release syndrome, which is, for want of a better expression, a headache, not just for the patients, of course, they have severe side effects, but for the healthcare system, because it really kind of clogs up that healthcare system. So we believe we've got an oral, a prophylactic solution for this, which really has drawn the attention of pharma companies. So we see this as, from a prophylaxis standpoint, a market opportunity that we've done independent analysis is greater than $10 billion. And of course, that grabbed our attention when we were, pivoting in that direction. And I guess the basis of this is that this new generation of cancer immunotherapies, these CAR-T therapies, these bispecific antibody therapies that trigger the immune system, over 70% of these patients experience cytokine release syndrome, which is a challenge. It's an issue, as I say, for the patients, but for the healthcare system to, basically have to, deal with these patients as they crash into this cytokine storm. Up to now, there's no approved therapies, for prevention. What they do, they react. If a cytokine storm develops, they give them tocilizumab. This is an antibody against a cytokine called interleukin-6, which will become relevant later on. But they have run trials to give that prophylactically. But what I heard firsthand earlier this week was it's just too expensive. It's an antibody, and to give an antibody to everybody, as a prophylactic, is too expensive, and the insurance won't pay for that. The docs don't want to give that because it just is a financial drain on the system. So ideally, what they're looking for is a small molecule pill, something like POB-001. So I think we're in a very exciting market here. Again, as a reminder, POB-001, we're targeting P38 MAP kinase. It's a small molecule orally delivered. So it does prevent this excessive inflammation, but without affecting the immunosuppression, without, again, where patients might be at risk of getting an infection post delivery of the drug. So we don't see that. We've been building a patent portfolio, again, focusing in on CRS and also looking for this orphan drug designation. And I won't go into details here, but that helps us kind of get your kind of market exclusivity and even potentially fast track to get reviewed. So again, we built a really nice data set, both preclinically, which again, I'll share some data later on in the CRS space, but also clinically. We've been in over 90 patients, healthy volunteers typically, for the phase 1 study, initially with POB-001, again, safe and well tolerated. And then more recently, Cathal alluded to, was the LPS challenge study, where we gave them a bacterial fragment to trigger their immune inflammatory response and saw terrific data. And again, I'll just share one slide on that. So again, this builds us nicely to move forward into this CRS space. And as I say, looking at broader range of cytokines and inhibiting cytokines, as I say, interleukin-6 is a key one that I'll touch upon later on. I think what's worth mentioning is, Poolbeg, when we spun out of HVO back in 2021, we were at the outset, because of our origins, we were focused in on severe influenza. We knew that POB-001 could play a potential role in the cytokine storm associated with severe influenza. But as I say, we did this strategic analysis looking at other potential acute inflammatory conditions where POB-001 could play a role. And that's where we came across the cytokine storm, cytokine release syndrome associated with cancer immunotherapies. So again, we were rapid to file patents on that in 2023, generate data that again will kind of make these patents more robust. And I say we presented that in 2024 at ASH conference in San Diego, in both 2023 and 2024 on the data we've been generated, and really turned heads on the pharma companies who are developing these terrific bispecific antibodies who are having very good efficacy, but the side effects is what challenged them. So they saw and what we were doing and are very, very interested. So as I say, we've got a nice data set here now, a nice market opportunity, great endorsement from key opinion leaders about the approach that we're taking. As I say, ready now, we're phase 2 ready and keen to get this in the clinic. And by the clinic, I mean in patients, in multiple myeloma patients, where again, the feedback we've gotten from the roadshow is that give us data in these multiple myeloma patients, and then the world is your oyster if it comes back positive. So we're keen to move forward on that very rapidly. As many of you know, I'm a scientist by training. I can't help myself at times sharing data slides, but I'll be brief on this one in particular. So this is, again, a validation model where we generated cytokine storm in a humanized mouse model. And what that means is we kind of remove the mouse immune system, give them human cells, so they'll react like a human scenario as best you can. So what we did is then introduced a tumor into this mice and triggered the cytokine storm by giving it a CD28 antibody. And that, again, as I say, activates the immune system. And what we wanted to do was to test 3 different doses of POB-001. So you have the low is light blue, medium is dark blue, and then green is the high level. And that was compared to no CRS, which is red, no treatment, which is red, and then an anti-TNF antibody, adalimumab, which is in gray. And what we see here across the board is on the left-hand side, you see the CRS levels go up across the study as expected with no treatment. You see the red line is quite high. And in that second graph here, study day 10, you can see the highest dose in green here of POB-001 is doing a really nice job of suppressing that cytokine storm, so cytokine release syndrome. And when you look at the various cytokines we looked at here, interleukin-6 I mentioned, which is say the antibody is given to treat CRS, that levels are quite low in the high doses of POB-001, and similarly interleukin-8, and of course TNF as well. That's TNF, tumor necrosis factor, is a key driver of many other cytokines. So we were really happy with this data. We presented it last year. I was at the stand presenting the poster. A lot of interest, which was terrific. And of course we used this data then to build out our patent portfolio. So very encouraged with that. I won't dwell on this too long because we did present this previously. But I think what's important is, again, reiterating the human data we've generated, this LPS challenge study. Again, here we're seeing significant reductions in TNF alpha in the medium and high dose. And again, this is where the immune system is triggered by this bacterial fragment LPS. And again, importantly, we're seeing dramatic reductions in the levels of interleukin-6. Again, this important cytokine that the physicians right now use the antibody to reduce. So we're seeing reductions across the board in these cytokines. So again, very exciting data that again we've presented to you previously. But where we're going next, I think, is what's really exciting. And this is work that was going on in parallel to the Huckabee discussions. So as I said, we weren't slowing down, like the company didn't grind to a halt in that. So we were looking at this in parallel, building out what a phase 2A clinical trial looks like. And again, this is from feedback from the field, as it were. We wanted to get this drug into these relapsed refractory multiple myeloma patients. We wanted to give them a bispecific antibody that they normally get, this kind of standard of care. But what we want to do is give POOLB001 to these patients before they get the bispecific. So again, that's keeping their immune system somewhat in check so that they don't get that cytokine storm. But of course, the bispecific does the job of what it's supposed to do, which is bringing T cells closer to the tumor, and then the T cells eradicate the tumor. So we have this trial designed. We've discussed at length with key opinion leaders. The study is adopted by the UK Myeloma Research Alliance. Again, they see the approach. They want to see this done. We have a host of key opinion leaders. Martin Kaiser, many of you have seen Martin present before on the work. He's at the Royal Marsden, their head of multiple myeloma there, and Garrett Morgan in the US. But we've got a number of UK clinical trial sites that are ready to go, as I say, where we'll give our drug. It'll be a single arm study. We're looking at between 30 and 40 patients. And we just want to give a single dose level. And again, what we're looking at on the right-hand side here is the incidence of what's called grade 2 CRS. And this is where the patients are progressing and they need some kind of anti-inflammatories to address the CRS that's developing. And again, we look at all grades. We want to confirm the safety and pharmacokinetics and other biomarkers, which I won't go into detail here. So as I say, we've got a nice clinical trial design that we can run very effectively and, of course, very cost effectively. With the number of trial sites that we've selected, and again, as I say, focused in on the UK. And this is what as I say, both the investor feedback, but also the pharma companies we're speaking to would like to see this data before they, as I say, make their huge decisions about whether it is acquiring a program to bring into their own pipeline. And I think and again, Cathal mentioned the bispecific antibody component of that clinical trial. Thankfully, we have two pharma companies that are ready and willing to give us the bispecific antibodies to test, try and reduce the CRS that they are experiencing themselves with the drugs that they have. So we're very encouraged by that. Here is the kind of, I think, the overall market issue, the patient issue. We did a full analysis of the marketplace. We looked specifically at multiple myeloma and diffuse large B-cell lymphoma only. And what that does, that's about 500,000 patients. But what the challenge is, if you give them CAR-T or bispecific, they have to take these drugs in these specialist cancer centers. And what that does, they take up beds. Because of the risk of CRS, they got to stay in their beds for 1 week or 2 weeks to see if it develops. And if it doesn't, then they go home. If it does, at least they're in the right building to get the treatments they require. So what we want to do, the CRS is a bottleneck where we can't get the drug, the bispecific antibodies, to enough patients rapidly, quickly. So if we can remove that bottleneck using POOLB001, then it effectively opens up the market where all of these patients can get drug quicker than what they would have done because of, as I say, with this CRS issue. Again, we see this as a $10 billion opportunity when we model out the cost of drug, etc. So very excited with that. Down at the bottom, I won't go into detail on these quotes we've mentioned before, but Martin Kaiser in particular, I think it's short and sweet. But if there's a therapy that was orally delivered, I think that's key. And obviously, a whole lot of the infrastructure requirement falls away. And he knows that these patients can take the drug at home, and then they can come into the clinic, and then they can go back home. So it frees up beds for these patients. So he's excited about the potential of this, and as I say, he's been very active in helping us kind of move this forward. So that's on the POOLB001 side. I do want to dwell a little bit. I mean, it's been a crazy, 4, 6, 12 months in the world of GLPs. It really has progressed. Lilly's market cap has exploded because of their programs. But what we're looking at here is a market on the left-hand side here of 150 billion of GLP-1 agonists projected by 2031. It's a huge market. Now, the majority of these are given by injection. There's one sole therapy on the market that's given orally, but it's got a 1% bioavailability. So you got to get a lot of drug on board, for it to be effective. And that costs a lot of money. But as I say, the obesity epidemic, as they're calling it, has almost $350 billion impact on the U.S. economy. And as I say, these numbers are quite staggering. That 42% of the U.S. population are effectively categorized as obese. So we feel that if we can kind of progress and move forward an orally delivered and orally encapsulated GLP-1 receptor agonist, you're going to create some market space for yourself. I say take some of this $150 billion market that's there. We have spoken before. We've partnered with colleagues, AnaBio. They're based down just outside Cork. They've got a large state-of-the-art manufacturing facility, FDA accredited. And they've essentially kind of generated that kind of proof of concept where they're commercializing these fragile bioactives, be it vitamins, etc., in the food science sector. So now they're applying their validated technology into the pharmaceutical sector. And as I say, moving forward with the clinical trials that we've got planned as a proof of concept. And similar to POOLB 001, as I said, we don't intend to move that forward into deeper clinical trials. That's where pharma steps in. So as I said, the trial, we begin later this year, but we should have the expected top-line data in the first half of next year, which will essentially tell us if the drug is getting on board and if it's having an effect on key biomarkers. In this case, it's glucose tolerance. So we know that the drug is surviving through the stomach and getting into systemic circulation and then having the necessary effects. So very excited to see the data come out of that. So that's the snapshot of the company. As I say, and we do want to leave plenty of time for questions because, as I say, given the events of the last week or so, we know that a lot of the investors have questions for us. So again, happy to address those. And Cathal, I'll hand it back to you to take the lead, and I'm happy to address any questions specifically for me.
Jeremy, thanks very much for that. Yeah, look, there's quite a few pre-submitted questions we're going to work our way through, and also quite a few have now come in. So look, we're here to answer questions. We're not going to hide. So happy to answer them. Look, quite a few here just coming in about the share price and what's going on and what's taking along for a deal, all that. So look, maybe what I might say, I'm not being defensive, all I would say is that, look, this is my third public company I've led. Amrit Pharma went from $50 million at IPO to $1.48 billion. I was the co-founder with Joe Wiley. So, and people who hung in there made 6-7 times their money. So that was pretty okay in 6 years. I would also point out we IPO'd Open Orphan in June 2019 at 5p. Even at its depressed price today, that's still 3x. That's 300x in the last 4 years. We all know it was much higher. 28, I thought 28, 29p was a pretty good price to sell out to institutions, and I made it very clear that was where I exited in 2 tranches last year. I didn't try and be underhanded by keeping a small stake. So I think if people reflect, I know people are upset with the share price. We are paying ourselves. I'm probably one of the cheaper executive chairmen in the entire market. I don't pay myself a big salary. So I just think when people say, look, I know people are upset at the share price, all I'd say was, look, give us a bit of a break as well. If you don't like what we're doing, I'd always say you can sell the shares. But I think my view at the moment is this is the third company in this space, in the life science. And all I'm saying, and a lot of the question and answer, is that we remain very excited. There is no company IPO'd and raised money in 2021 that still has a substantial portion of its cash. I say there is, our annual accounts is coming up in the relatively near future. I can't say exactly when, but it's coming soon. And you'll see there is a large chunk of cash. So we want people thinking we're running out of cash. We're not. And that's not. But what I want to get ethos across is that you get invested in these companies. We do believe and we do see upside, substantial upside in where the share prices are at the moment. We do believe we've good products. I see a lot of the questions here, and I'll summarize them. Why is it taking so long for the 001? Why no deal after 3 years? Well, we're only IPO'd 3.5 years. We got up and running. It was a spin out of hVivo. It was a virtual company. And what I would say in 001, if you go back, it was originally an influenza product. An influenza would have been interesting. Yes, we could have got a certain price for that. However, we have Jeremy and the team and Liam and Brendan and everybody else has developed very substantial IP, have done a challenge study, and have proven that 001 is not alone this little niche called flu. It's now a cancer treatment, and it's applicable to a vast range of cancers. So what I would say to people, given a hard time in the questions here, is that, yeah, it's taken a while. But I do say there's not a single company who raised money and IPO'd in 2021 or 2022 that has managed to maintain the cash that we have. It hasn't been burned through in wages. Most of the cash has gone into doing trials, developing the products. And the very fact that I'm saying is that some of the largest biotech investors in America felt there was a lot more valuable in Poolbeg, particularly in 001, than Hookapa. Bear in mind, Hookapa raised $400 million in the last 4 years, and their share price went down 99.97. It had started out at $1 billion, and we were talking 22 million. So I'm not saying our share price is going down any further, but all I would say that the theory tonight is we're here to ask questions. We're here to address the market. We're here to reassure investors that we have substantial cash reserves and point out that we're more excited than ever that 001 has a very interesting future and that we need to show efficacy alongside one of these cancer treatments this summer, this autumn. And at that point in time, it works. And if it works, it's kind of game over for the product. That's the point of inflection of what we do with it. So maybe that kind of hopefully summarizes. And so I say, all I would say, bear with us. The product has evolved from flu, which would have been a nice product, but the upside where we are, we're looking at something substantially better. And I would emphasize that I know people are giving out, many companies IPO'd in 2021, and many of them have gone, they've disappeared. We believe we're in now with a strong fighting chance to create a final and really interesting success. And you won't see me starting another life science company until we get this one through. And it was the same with Amrit, and it was the same with Open Orphan. So one primary life science. And I'm in a quasi full-time role closely with Jeremy and the rest of the team as executive chairman to try and help and guide everybody forward. So next questions, let me see, taking it from the top. Look, I think most of these ones have come in. I've actually just run through them by my high level, but let me just take through for more detail. The next one that came in, why did Hookapa pull out of the deal and have they left the door open? Yeah, we said we're surprised and disappointed. I'm not sure, being honest with you. I have my own views, and I think I hinted earlier around two large shareholders. But the interesting one was everybody we roadshowed to, including some of the biggest, most prominent life science investors in North America, clearly agreed with us. The value is in 001 and advocated strongly, folks. If you just do that trial this summer and autumn, you're going to have something that's of immense value. So I would be saying on that, as I said earlier, with hindsight, we were giving away 45% of the company to Hookapa. We get to keep all of the upside. We've got to deliver it in some conscious. Do management believe there are many mistakes with regards to Hookapa potential deal that has resulted in the depressed share price? Well, it's a bit ironic when we announced the deal, and there's sometimes running small public companies, you can't win. We announced the deal, people didn't like the deal, and the share price collapsed. And then last week, when we announced the deal was off, the share price falls again. So, like, folks, like, I know it's a very skittish and it's a very tricky market, but I'm being serious. Is that you announce the deal, people don't like your share price goes down, and a couple of months later, the deal's off, and the share price, one would expect to pop back up because we're a relatively cash-rich company. It still goes down. But to answer the question in all serious, did we make mistakes? No, I don't think so. Looking back, we've no regrets. The big regrets that we didn't work hard enough. I think I made it very clear, and Jeremy very hard. It was a hard, grueling 4 months for everybody involved. The positivity. So I don't think there was any mistakes. Yes, we could have made big mistakes. We could have had a squadron of lawyers and financial advisors ran up a fortune in fees. We didn't. It's insignificant, I'd say. We have one in-house lawyer, and Ian, and myself, and Jeremy, everybody else did all the work internally on. So we basically made use of our own time. And I say, everybody, we got Christmas Day off. There was calls on Christmas Eve. There was calls on New Year's Eve. There was calls on New Year's Day. So it's the first time in my life I've worked the entire Christmas, bar Christmas Day, and the entire New Year's period. So I don't think there's any regrets on our side. There's, looking back, no mistakes. But the positive side is we've always known 001, but now we have a trial, a very low-cost trial, that we would hope and plan on running later this year as soon as we can find a solution to funding it. And I say it's a sub $4 million trial, so it's not a particularly expensive trial. Just looking at the next one, how do management intend to restore confidence and boost the share price? Yeah, look, the share price is where it is. I think we have to prove to people we can get that trial going, and then we have a funding solution for it. And then I'm absolutely convinced once that trial's underway, and particularly the international media, international investors, wow, this is a product that virtually so many oncology products in the world needs, because it stops that adverse reaction. So I would say, and tonight, we didn't want to go rush out, panic on Friday or Monday, Tuesday. We wait tonight, and this is the starting of restoring confidence. We're fully aware the share price did drop. There was a problem during the period. Once you announced the deal on the 2nd of January, we're subject to the UK takeover rules, which are, being honest, we are quite strict. So the amount of times we could speak, say, or do anything, we're virtually zero. When you're subject to takeover, the managing team literally have to go into silence mode, and there are very, very strict rules around that. So unfortunately, while that bid was there, we were literally muzzled. So we're starting it. Question: the share price has experienced a significant decline of 70% over the past 6 months. This dramatic fall is disheartening and raises concerns with the company's overall financial health and strategic direction. Can you please provide an update on the current situation, specifically providing timescales, key catalysts that we expect to influence the share price recovery? When is the company planning to achieve the target share price previously indicated? Yeah, look, I think tonight Jeremy went through in quite a lot of detail what the plans are. That trial design, look, he showed it clearly. We have the GLP-1 trial kicking off. So we're quite unique for a small cap biotech company listed in London to have 2 very significant trials, one starting and one hopefully about to start. So I think, look, there's a lot of catalysts coming down the track there. So I think, and yeah, so I think Jeremy made that clear. What is the financial position of Poolbeg? I think we made it clear tonight. I think that was one of the key reasons we were coming on tonight, to update people, that we only spent a modest amount of money, a very modest, like very small amount of money on the board. Cost was tiny compared to the bidder. The bidder incurred a very, very substantial, very substantial cost. And our model as well, separately from the bid, is always to do everything in-house, and that's what we did. As such, our financial position is not impacted. I think most people know we're in a very strong financial position, and we feel comfortable where we are. We've always followed as well a very disciplined capital allocation policy, and we always pay very, very modest to low salaries. We've made the money that we raised in 2021 go a long way, generating strong data and IP around our products, and we'll certainly update the market when we announce the financial results in the very near future. Good. Next question: what clinical work is being carried out at present on our product 001, and why for many months have we heard nothing regarding this work? Well, I think, look, Jeremy's made that clear. Yeah. There's a lot of work. Is that right, Jeremy?
There's a lot of work. A lot of work has been done. I kind of outlined some of it, but as Colin said, one of the frustrating things, and we're used to, frequently engaging with our investors on the work we're doing, but because of this kind of hookup process, we did have to kind of stay quiet on certain things. But that didn't, as I say, we weren't sitting on our hands. There was a lot of work going on in the background. So I think for the POOLBEG 001, I see this as, as I say, the next step is not too far away. We're kind of in discussions with the pharma companies who got the trial designed and endorsed. As I said, I think we'll get some, quite interesting data from that. It's all kind of, will be statistically relevant. Reduction of that, CRS grade 2 is the key. What's keenly attractive to pharma companies. So if we can demonstrate that, I think that's, as I say, the feedback we've gotten over the last several months was that getting it data in patients, that really is that inflection point. As Colin said, it won't take too long to get that. I always reiterate that these studies that we run, yes, it's in cancer patients, but we're not measuring the kind of cancer regression. We're just measuring that immune or inflammatory response in response to the drug that they're given, the bispecific antibody. So these are relatively short clinical trials. So as I say, we should have that top line data readout in 2026. So I think it's not too far away. So plenty of inflection points. But as I said, there was a lot of work on the background that we couldn't speak about because of the hookup process.
Next question: are Gilead interested in any of the products, and if so, why can we not sign a deal with Gilead? I think, look, being perfectly honest, I can't really comment on anything about Gilead. They were the second largest shareholder in Hookup. We can't comment what they may or may not do. They did see what we have, and I think they were certainly impressed, as were everybody else. So look, I think the least we say about Gilead for the moment is the best.
Sure.
As
I
I said
will,
earlier,
I will add, Cathal, yeah, I will add, Cathal, that Gilead do have, they did acquire a company, Kite, who have CAR T programs. So they know the CAR T, CRS is an issue, particularly with CAR T. So they're aware of kind of what we're doing, what our efforts are. But again, having that data in multiple myeloma patients, that's the trigger point where that would generate significant interest. And I'm not saying Gilead in particular, I'm just saying all pharma companies, but certainly it would be in Gilead's interest to talk to us with that multiple myeloma clinical data in hand.
Thanks, Jeremy. Next question. I think we're down to probably our last couple of questions here at the moment. Let me see. Is there an active plan B? Is there serious interest in P001 that's been expressed, given management and the belief the deal is close with the other party? Yeah, look, our take is absolutely a deal could be done on 001. However, our belief is there's a vastly bigger value creation if we run this very low-cost, modest trial testing 001 with a product. I think people have to bear in mind the reason we all, and I'm a relatively prolific investor in other small cap companies, the reason we all invest in AIM companies is not to get 10% per annum or 20%, but we invest to get 3 or 4 or 5x. That has always been. If you want 5-10%, buy Pfizer, GSK, buy even Gilead. That is where you'll get that sort of, they do go down from time to time, but they don't go up double or triple or quadruple. So we all invest in AIM. That's why I invested in Poolbeg, is not to get 10 or 20%. So our belief at the moment is that we can deliver a serious result. And all I'm trying to say to people, I know people are upset with the share price is, this is my third outing. Jeremy's last company, Inflamzone, people made 10x their money. It was a private company, so public didn't get a chance. It was private equity backed, so people didn't get a chance. You buy these companies, all I'm trying to say is, I know people are upset, is bear with us. I think the proof will be in the pudding over the next 6, 9, 10 months. If this product works, it's a complete game changer, and we get to share the whole upside. I think the mistake we might have made if Hookup had done the deal with us, and hypothetically, we run this trial this summer, autumn time, and suddenly it's a bonanza, and the Hookup folks walk off and run away with half the upside. So that's what I'd say in that regards. Just looking at some of the other questions, I think we've answered quite a few. Look, there's quite a few here. Is there still plans to list in the USA? Yeah, look, the USA would be nice to have. We came pretty close with Hookup. Sometimes there's an old saying, be careful what you wish for. Being on NASDAQ can be massively expensive. We had a close shave. We didn't incur big costs. So I think we don't rule anything out. But my belief at the moment is where we have Poolbeg and where we have the 2 trials lining up, we don't have a rush going anywhere. Let's deliver the results in those. Another question here is probably one of the final ones towards Jeremy. I think, Jeremy, maybe you've already done this, but what are the near-term plans? Can you confirm the pipeline table remains in phase 2? So maybe I'll hand that one back to you, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's fine. As I say, I did speak about the main programs, 001, and we indicated the timelines for that as well. And then GLP-1, I think it's worth, I know a lot of people are kind of questioning around the kind of the cash and finances, but it's worth pointing out that the 001 trial is relatively modest for the data set we get. And I think importantly then, the GLP-1 is essentially primarily funded by our partner. The way we structured the deal is that they'll be funding that. So that'll be very little output from a Poolbeg standpoint on the GLP-1 trial. But, this significant upside will come from that if it's positive. As I say, if we do see that, bioavailability and pharmacodynamic response of the orally delivered GLP-1, then there'll be significant upside for Poolbeg. And again, relatively short time frame, as a top line data in 2026. So, near term, everything's relatively near term now with these 2 programs.
Jeremy, thanks for that. Look, I think, folks, we've tried to answer virtually all the questions. Most of them will come in. Quite a lot of them the same theme. I think the theme is everybody's pissed off about the share price. Yes, you have a good right to be. We're pissed off as well. However, instead of running away and hiding, we're here talking. And we're not saying, we're going to do a new deal or go somewhere else. We're focusing on the knitting. And the knitting is, our belief, is 001 is the company maker. And that has been validated very, very strongly now by the whole hookup process. People might say, well, if it's so bloody great, Carl, why'd hookup walk away? I think, look, the proof and the answer to that will probably come clearer in the next month or two. And I think I hinted at it earlier where it is when you have a very large pharma company and a small depressed NASDAQ company. So let's wait and see. I don't think that was going to happen. But look, let's see. All options are on the table. And hopefully, I've, as a 6-year-old, one could say I have better things to do than spend a lot of my time here in London trying to work with Poolbeg and promote it. But being perfectly honest with you, as a 6-year-old who'd worked 44 years, I'm very excited. I'm delighted with the hardest 4 months of my life has just passed. There was no mistakes made. If I didn't work that hard, I kept thinking, shit, we should have done that a little bit more. But I'm really happy. I don't want to say, let's see. All I say, let's see where this trial goes. Let's see where the GLP-1 goes. And bear with us. I say it's a public company. If people are pissed, the beauty about it, you're not locked in. You can sell. But I actually think when you look at today's share price, it has only one way to go. And hopefully it's going to go serious places. Not right away, not the next day or next week or two. But once we get these 2 trials underway, there's something wrong if we can't create serious value for you all, everybody, but also including ourselves. We're all shareholders in this company. So.
Well said, Carl. Well said.
Okay, without further ado, I think I'll hand back to our organizer, Paul, and thank you very much. And we will keep involved. I will, as an executive chairman, continue to work closely with Jeremy, our CEO, and we will be updating the market as where we go. So thank you very much for taking time to listen to us tonight, and hopefully we've reassured you there is no issue in the company. It has been disappointing. It did come as a surprise, but there is upside. And the upside is that we now have valid verification from major funders that we actually have a seriously interesting asset or 2 or 3 on our hands.
Fantastic. 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 Thank you very much, Carl, Jeremy, for updating investors today. Can I please ask investors not to close this session? You should be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete and is greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Poolbeg Pharma, I would like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good afternoon to you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.